everyone, and welcome to No Off Season. I'm Zena Cada.
And I'm Sabreena Merchant.
And today on the show, we're doing something that I don't necessarily love to do, but we know it's fun. We're overreacting to the college hoop season. Yes, it's early, but still, there are some things that we can have some thoughts on. That's what we're going to do today. We're 2 weeks in. We're going to see who's looking good, who's looking not so good, and who's making things potentially exciting for the season, especially as conference play comes along very soon. But we're going to actually have someone joining us to talk about this. Gorwara, she's been doing some really cool stuff for the college sports desk at The Athletic, if you've been reading her stuff at all. But she knows ball, okay? And she's going to be able to join us for these overreactions. But first, we got some fun numbers around the Athletic Association at the college level. I love this. DoorDash, if you're listening, you missed out an opportunity. We're going to get into why in just a few seconds. But first, we've got to talk about Grace College and the ridiculous stat line they put up against Ohio Christian. I'm so sorry that Ohio Christian had to be on the other side of this, where Grace College dropped 172 points, breaking the record, of any point scored at any level. D1, D2, D3, didn't matter, Sabreena. They went in against Ohio Christian. Most ever points by a women's college basketball team. Like, what happened?
Yeah, so over at CBS Sports, Jack Maloney wrote a story about this and basically figured out that they ran a full court press for 40 minutes, which when you are up by 80 plus points in the final minute of a game, I don't know how I would feel as the opposing coach if my team was still getting full court pressed. But, if you break it, I guess that's how you get 91 points of your own. To be clear, the previous record was 159 points. So it's not as if they needed to break the record in the final minute. They were just, you know how you talk about like not playing the scoreboards, they were very much not playing the scoreboard. This is just how they play every second of the game. It was just the tempo. You have to have that kind of tempo to score a combined 63 points on both teams.
Crazy.
Let's see. They forced 42 turnovers. They scored 93 fast break points, which would have been more than the 91 that the other team scored total. And fun fact, they only made 10 three-pointers. So it's not as if they were just raining three-pointers. It was a lot of layups.
This is a college practice. They basically went to practice against Ohio Christian and just ran layup lines. Like, that's wild. They took 44 free throws. So the fact that this game even paused and there was time to recalibrate and they were like, you know what? Let's keep going. I was reading the articles trying to figure out, like, is there beef? Like, what's good with the coaches? Like, what happened in the past? And Ohio Christian, if there wasn't beef before, there's beef now. You better register this, because that is wild. And the fact that they now are in the record books with your name at the other end of it, Ohio Christian, I expect a stat line 173 next year, okay? Figure it out. All right, other folks that felt like they had beef against their opponents, two juniors across the country, Hannah Hidalgo of Notre Dame and Audi Crooks of Iowa State. They did some things, okay? They did some things. Sabreena, break it down for us.
Yeah, so let's start with Hannah Hidalgo, who just was really mean to Akron on Wednesday. Like,
that's what I'm saying. There's beef all around.
She set an NCAA record, men's or women's, with 16 steals in a regulation game against the Akron Zips. It's not like she played 40 minutes or anything. She played 28 minutes, picked up 16 steals of her own. Notre Dame, as a team, had 30 steals. So just Akron, what are we doing? Dribbling the ball or passing the ball? Like, we got to work on some drills during practice next time around.
Drills. Yes,
the previous NCAA record was actually 14 steals. So set by Jill Ingram of Georgia Tech and Tisha Penetero of Old Dominion. So good company for Hannah Hidalgo to be in. She also set a Notre Dame program scoring record with 44 points in addition to those 16 steals. 4 assists, 9 rebounds, throw in. She did have 6 turnovers of her own, but I feel like at that pace, like, things are bound to happen. But yeah, 44 points, 16 steals, 9 rebounds. Just a regular day in the office for Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame.
That's disgusting. That is
Disgusting, yeah.
ridiculous. That's amazing.
And I don't
And
want to
then
shortchange Audi
I was just
Crooks,
gonna say the
who
16
did
steals feels
have
like it could have gone with Audi, but
she did have 43 points in 20 minutes, 18 of 23 from the field. But when you have 44 points on the other end, plus all the other extras that Hannah Hidalgo added, like, kudos to Audi. What I was more impressed with is that, Iowa State, who we talk about their defense a lot, they limited Valparaiso to 5 of 17 shooting in the restricted area. So that's a very impressive defensive performance. Good for you, Audi. But again, we're talking about 16 steals on the other end. So happy for the Cyclones. Nice undefeated start to the season. Also an undefeated start to the season for the Irish, who faced their first real test of the year against Michigan on Saturday. And, I'd like to think that Silas Swords, Olivia Olson, Mila Holloway are a little better at handling the ball than the Akron Zips. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're definitely looking at that tape like, I don't even know if they look at that tape, but they're definitely seeing that stat line and being like, absolutely not. We refuse to allow that. Well, congratulations to both of them. People just doing some crazy things. If this is any indication as to how crazy this season is going to be, strap in, y'all. Strap in. Okay, let's shift over to some off-the-court basketball news, still in the college space, but also going pro. JuJu Watkins stepped inside to the business side of sports. She became the first college player to invest in a women's professional league, joining the investor group for the Boston Legacy FC of the NWSL. No, I did not misspeak. I did say Boston, and I know this might be a little confusing, folks. JuJu, born and raised in Los Angeles, home of Angel City FC, right there, one of the most high-profile soccer teams in the country, and yet she has chosen Boston Legacy FC as her first professional investment. Now, Boston Legacy is also invested in by Aaliyah Boston, and for several reasons that makes sense. Sabreena, what did you make of this? And break down why Aaliyah Boston makes sense, but how did this JuJu thing happen?
I mean, I think people listening can understand why Aaliyah Boston makes sense. Aaliyah Boston investing in Boston Legacy. She also did grow up, spend her high school years in Massachusetts when she, moved over from the islands. So multiple reasons why investing in the Boston Legacy makes sense for the Indiana Fever star. JuJu Watkins, is she friends with Aaliyah Boston? Like, I'm not really understanding the connection here. There is a team in LA. Like, there are other teams you could invest in. Maybe there is not a historic, LA-Boston rivalry in women's soccer because, again, this is an expansion team. So not the historic nature that you might see in basketball or baseball, for example. I don't really get it. I also, I don't know if we need to, clarify. There have been college athletes who have invested in Unrivaled, including JuJu Watkins, right? They have the NIL partnership. So I don't really know about the distinctions there. Just suffice to say, a lot of college players using their portfolios to make investments in women's sports, which is awesome all around, even if it does happen to be teams that LA has a historic, or maybe not historic rivalry with. Who knows?
Right. And I think maybe the distinction is Unrivaled a league versus a team. I don't know.
Maybe,
but that's fair. I'm still a little confused. I'd love a little background, a breakdown when they announce it. They do those cool videos, so welcome JuJu. Can we give a little bit of context? What happened? Angel City
really swans. I don't know. Isn't that the thing on the crest of their?
Yeah, I don't know. Right, exactly. I'm curious. Either way, congrats. I don't have the money to make those decisions.
Seems
so
like a
shout
smart
out
investment is what I'll give you.
Yeah, either way, exactly. NWSL playoffs are going on. Lots of growth happening in the NWSL, just like there is in the WNBA. So great investment overall. Congratulations to JuJu for sure. And now, last but not least, let's turn our attention to the world of the WNBA and an interesting piece from Annie Costable of the front office sports team saying, why are so few teams wanting to host the WNBA All-Star game? As you know, Chicago was announced as next year's location, but they just had it. 2022 just happened. And I know a lot of folks were like, really? There are other teams available. I mean, I am in the Bay. It feels like that would have been a space where that could have happened. But that article revealed not that many people are raising their hands. So, Sabreena, break that down for us. Why are so few teams actually willing to take on All-Star Weekend?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, if you're wondering why your favorite WNBA team is not hosting 2026 WNBA All-Star, it's because they didn't bid on it. The only team that bid on hosting 2026 WNBA All-Star was the Chicago Sky. And you could say, hey, maybe that's a result of nobody knows what's going to happen with the season. There's a lot of indecision with the CBA and whatnot. No team's really bet on 2025 either. The league just asked Indianapolis to do it, and they sort of went with it. Having, I guess, some
Wow.
infrastructure in place from having hosted NBA All-Star in
Right.
2024. Uh, the article does reveal that there was a lot of interest in 2024 WNBA All-Star, which was hosted by Phoenix. The president of the Phoenix Mercury, Vince Kozar, says that they beat out 3 other bids to host that year. And you remember, that's the Olympic year. So you get the Team USA versus All-Stars as the headline of that event. And there's a couple things that makes me think of. One, what exactly do All-Star games mean in our modern sports landscape when every game is on TV and you can watch every player all the time, see them on socials, see all of their games, all of their highlights? Is it that cool to have an All-Star game still? Like, we've seen this problem in a lot of sports, right? How much does the All-Star game really mean? Other than when the WNBA has the best format possible with the Olympic team going up against the rest of the WNBA All-Stars, which we'll always love that. And I can see why there's a lot of interest in that game. But then again, like, we've talked about ownership in the WNBA, putting their money where their mouth is and providing more resources to players in the form of practice facilities and bigger training staffs and better player experience, throughout the league for the WNBA. But maybe there's a limit on like how much money they're actually willing to spend on other things, because there's a lot of costs taken out of pocket to host All-Star, right? And, Phoenix Mercury is saying that like the only way we're really able to do this is because we have all the Suns resources on our side. So like, doesn't really know how an independent ownership group would do it. And maybe that's why we just keep seeing All-Star back in Vegas over and over again, right? They had it in 19, 21, 23. Kind of surprising, honestly, it wasn't back there in 25, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Vegas were back on the list to host an All-Star game, just because of all of the convention center space and hotels and everything that naturally exists in Las Vegas to host giant events. But yeah, I think it is interesting that despite all of the growth at WNBA, it's still facing a very similar problem to other professional sports of like, what is this previously very exciting game mean in the modern era of our sport? And also, is it worth the financial outlay that it seems to cost? Like, it seems to be a very big investment for these ownership groups. And like, what does it really do for the franchise to host it? Like, does it make a meaningful impact to them?
Yeah, it does. As you're laying that out, I'm immediately thinking about, the Bay Area being able to host NBA All-Star recently. Like, it worked in conjunction with everything they were trying to showcase in general, because there are so many events coming to the Bay. This NBA All-Star was an opportunity for them to, one, show off the Valkyries facilities. That was like a really great red carpet, of course, violet carpet, to be able to showcase, what they're doing and what they're building in Oakland. But also there are so many more events that are coming to the Bay that aren't even just NBA All-Star. There's a Super Bowl coming, right? It does seem like there's so many more tentacles than we know and we could think of. For what it's worth, like Phoenix and Indiana, in terms of like their layout and the fan experience of getting to the games, et cetera, like that was top tier. People did not have any issues getting to where they need to be, where the events and how things were laid out. There's already questions around how Chicago is going to be laid out, because
a lot of people are calling it an Illinois All-Star game.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The Illinois All-Star game. So this is interesting. It really does seem like you have to have an extra incentive, peripheral incentive to want to host something, an event like that. And yeah, when things are already built in, you do feel like you're at an advantage. So we'll see. LA, I imagine, particularly after the Olympics and the work they're going to have to do to get up to speed with that, I feel like they might be set up to be able to host one soon. And they're going to want to have their purple and gold carpet laid out because they have a facility on the way as well. So very interesting. Appreciate you breaking that down, Sabreena. All right, guys, I've been pushing it off, but it's time to overreact. All right, joining us as we dive into our college hoops overreactions is The Athletic's Ira Gorwara. Ira, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. It's like a loyal, no off-season listener. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, snaps for that. I love that. Thank you. And now, before we get into our overreactions, we do want to introduce you a little bit more to the audience. You actually wrote this unbelievable piece on sorority influencers in Alabama football. Currently has 529 comments. Whether those are hate comments, whether those are love comments, people are fascinated by this. It's a conversation, and it's a thing that is happening break it down. How did you come about like wanting to write that story, and what were some of the little details that you loved learning about it?
Yeah, so I was seeing on my social media everywhere these girls, like sorority girls, who are just like literally making a whole career out of themselves and they're still in college. Like the one girl that comes to mind, her name is Kylan Darnell. She has 1.5 million almost TikTok followers. And I saw a report that she makes 6 figures a month. So, and she's my age. So she's still a senior in college. And
Oh,
this is all from like, well, one thing is she's like some sort of deal with ESPN where she's on college game day whenever they come to Tuscaloosa, which
mhm.
is often once a year. And she'll come and she'll do like social media stuff like around the stage. And so she has that. And then she has all these brand deals with like a bunch of like clothing brands and jewelries and like, all this sort of like food brands, whatever. And she's just literally like, she has her career set out for herself. It seems like she wants to go into sports broadcasting. So she's kind of got that path already laid out. So there's a lot of girls like her. She's definitely the face of all of it and kind of started this whole trend, but there's so many like her. And so I went to Tuscaloosa in Alabama a couple weeks ago, and it was just like the way that these girls dress for game days is, so I go to UCLA. And so what I'm used to is like, you wear a jersey, you wear some denim shorts, you wear some rusty sneakers, and you call it a day. But down there, it's like leather dresses and like blazers and like boots and all this like expensive jewelry. And some of them, one of the girls I talked to spent $5,000 on jewelry alone. And like they have like spreadsheets and Canva boards and stuff to like, like write out
Yeah.
kickoff times, opponent, color scheme, everything. So it's like a whole production. Like one of the girls was like, it's like a Saturday to Saturday thing of like game day. It's like literally the crown jewel of their like school year. So yeah, basically it's about how these girls have the production behind game days and how that's all led to like these lucrative careers and influencer careers of like content creation and social media.
Now, there were a lot of people, men particularly, that were upset
Oh
that
yeah.
they had not been able to capitalize on their fandom in this way. But man, it is fascinating. I think my favorite part was like how a lot of the sorority girls, they share their closets. So they're like they
Yeah.
basically multiply. It's ingenious. It's
Yeah.
ingenious. I
Yeah.
love this for them. I've definitely seen Kylan before. I remember the story came out about her and people were mad about it. And she was just like, I'm doing my thing. So I love you bringing that attention to that story, and we'll see what happens. Being a girl from the South, I went to Wake Forest. Each sorority gets their own color Converse.
Oh.
Okay. Imagine a girly coming from college in grad school, and I just like Converses, period. And people are asking me if I'm a particular sorority. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's a thing. Okay. It's a thing. All right. So, one thing that I loved finding out, though, after even I've read this story, right? Sabreena and Ben Pickman of our show, let me know that you know ball and you like love ball. And I'm like, hold up. We got to make this happen. I'm so happy that you're here. We're going to get into the college hoop season, talk about some early overreactions. Sabreena, I'm going to let you go ahead and start us off. We got some new faces in new places, freshmen breaking out, top contenders playing, well, like top contenders. We have a small sample size. It's teeny, but it's enough to make an overreaction. So what is your overreaction for the season so far?
All right, so I think on our preseason All-American team, we had one player from this team represented on our second team, and I actually voted for a different player on my second team, and now I'm at the point where I'm thinking a third player altogether is the most important player on South Carolina,
Oh.
and that is Tessa Johnson. I think that she is the most important player to what the Gamecocks are trying to do this season. I'm kind of shocked I got to this point, but she is starting at the 3 for South Carolina, which is kind of a big position there because, vacating where Bree Hall was the last couple of years, just an awesome connector, defender, latched on to the Valkyries and the Indiana Fever this season. Tessa, I look at South Carolina, we have all these questions about their depth, and they kind of have the Texas problem of like, where's the 3-point shooting coming from? Tessa Johnson, her shot chart is like all of the places where the Gamecocks don't get guarded. Like she gets her pull up in the mid range. She's the only one really on the team that's shooting any threes. And if you need the space to make room for Joyce Edwards to work inside, for Tania Latson to work inside, because nobody gets downhill quite like Tania Latson, that spacing, that gravity, that comes from Tessa Johnson. And I watch South Carolina whenever they get into a little bit of a lull. You saw that game against Clemson where the Tigers kept coming back. She's the one who can create her own shot, like in places that other teams are not going to guard them. She's the one who's going to defend the other team's best perimeter player. Like, we're going to talk about South Carolina versus USC, Southern California, this upcoming weekend. She's the one who's going to guard Jazzy Davidson. So I look at Tessa Johnson and I think she might be the most important player on this team as they try to win another national title.
I love this overreaction. And I don't know if it's an overreaction, but I'm sure some South Carolina fans are like, hold up. Joyce is right there. But
you're leading
so
scorer in the
right.
country last year.
Exactly. But there's right, exactly, Tania Latson. That's a thing. Yep, absolutely. And she's scoring pretty well still for the South Carolina Gamecocks. But Tessa Johnson, when I think about her shot even just last year, looking at, she can create off the dribble. She can pull up in the gaps, like exactly what you're talking about. How many mid, like baseline jumpers did we see her hit last year at the end of a shot clock? Like that's a good one, Sabreena. Damn. I feel like I need to get my overreaction together. That's a good one. Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay. What do you think about that, Ira, about Tessa Johnson maybe being the most important player?
Especially in the no Chloe Kitts sort of era. Who is the standout? And I like that. I mean, agreed 100%.
Okay. I'm going to throw a couple more numbers out here. Tessa Johnson shooting over 70% on twos, nearly 46%, nearly 47% on her three-pointers. She sort of blocked a couple three-pointers against Clemson the other night. So the defense is there. The offense is there. She's not exactly a playmaker. That's fine. They got other ones of those on South Carolina. But when you talk about people who are just going to provide some shooting, for the Gamecocks, it's pretty much Tessa Johnson and nobody else. So I think that's really important. And that's why I have very high hopes for what she can accomplish in her first year as a starter in South Carolina.
I can't wait for that the USC matchup on Saturday, especially because it's going to be Jazzy Davidson, like Sabreena was saying, Jazzy Davidson and Tessa Johnson.
That is going to be a good matchup. And another thing, though, that I did not know until I went to that to the Final Four, Tessa Johnson is a big guard. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. If you've never seen Tessa Johnson in person, you might see her and might, you feel endeared. Like, she endears herself upon people, right? Because she's adorable. But she's a big guard, and she's like 6'1", solidly.
Yeah, I think she's listed at 6 feet.
Fits. Yeah, like she's solid. And that's one of the things that Bree Hall had about her was that length. And she was a big guard that could guard on the perimeter. She could switch in any situation. And so this is an opportunity. And I know Dawn Staley is probably, that's a test for Tessa Johnson, particularly from her younger years to now being an upperclassman. Like, she's going to have to really step up from that perspective defensively. Okay. I like it. I'm grateful for it. Now I got to look out for it. We'll see. Let us know if we're overreacting on that. I know South Carolina fans are like, mount up. No, I'm joking. Okay, let's keep going. Ira, Sabrina's warmed us up. It's a good one. It's a great one. And I know you've been covering UCLA and the greater Los Angeles area. Yeah. What is your biggest overreaction so far this season?
Okay, so I want to get to UCLA and USC, and we know those are the powerhouses, and we know Jazzy Davidson's legit, and London Jones is loving her time at her former crosstown rivals, and UCLA is deep and all that. But the team that I was thinking about when I was thinking about all this was San Diego State. So I watched them last week against UCLA in Anaheim for their season opener, and they really gave UCLA a fight. I mean, that was UCLA season opener, and Corey Close said after the game that, there was a lot of things that UCLA didn't do very well, and she wasn't very proud of how the team started the season. And there's a few things about that team, so I'm sure you guys saw. But last week, after the Santa Barbara game, Corey Close was talking about how she reached out to every school from Cal Poly down to San Diego, and nobody wanted to play UCLA, and she really struggled to schedule those non-conference games. And it was something that Dawn Staley warned her about, being like, people aren't going to want to play you. And so she kind of shouted out, the San Diego State. And San Diego State, like I said, really did give UCLA a fight. UCLA came out, scored the first 8 points with, I think it was like a 3-point game after the first quarter. And then, as UCLA should have, they took the game away by like 20-something points. But San Diego State gave another run at it late third, early fourth quarter. And it was always going to be UCLA's game, but it really, they gave them a fight, as I mentioned. And I think the one player that stands out, so she's a 5'7" guard, so she's somewhat short. Her name is Naomi. I'm gonna butcher her last name, but Panganiba. And I was
Mm.
watching her play, and I was like, she reminds me of somebody, and I can't figure out who. And so I searched her up, and I was like, oh, she went to La Jolla, which is where Jada Williams went. Obviously, the Iowa State
Mm.
speedy guard. I mean, she's Jada Williams. She's, she has that grit and toughness about her. And I was like, they just give very similar vibes when I watch them play. And so they play very similar. They obviously played together. And Naomi only had 4 points against UCLA. She had 5 assists, but nothing to write home about from the scoreboard or the stat sheet. But she's not the tallest player on the court, and she kind of takes advantage of that by being compensating for that by being, having offensive maturity kind of beyond her years. She's versatile, she's athletic, which makes sense because she did high jump and long jump and some
Oh,
sprints and
dang.
stuff in high school. And she's played internationally in the Philippines since 2022. So she has all these different things going for her, and I don't think she's gonna be, some sort of one of the top players in the country, but certainly in the Mountain West, and San Diego State are the reigning Mountain West champions. So I think they're gonna have a run for it. I mean, were
Mm.
knocked out of the tournament last year because they played LSU in the first round, but I was pretty impressed at what I saw from San Diego State.
Okay. Okay. Wait, first of all, thank you for putting us on, because I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't watched one San Diego State game for
Valid.
San Diego State, right? When we're watching some of these games, you're looking at UCLA
Yeah,
in these
yeah.
circumstances, right? So this is really, really cool. Do you think, are you going to go ahead and overreact that San Diego State is going to make it past the first weekend?
Or even the first round, honestly. That'd be no
Or the first
overreaction.
round. Thank you.
First
Yes,
round.
yes,
I'm
yes,
gonna
yes.
say they're gonna make it past the first round.
Okay.
Unless
All
they're
right.
somehow pitted against, LSU again in the first round. But otherwise, I think they're gonna make it past the first round.
Sabreena, there is something to be said about having a team as dominant as UCLA not being able to immediately put you out of the game, right? When we're seeing all of these non-conference games, these quote unquote bye games, right? Where these bigger teams are getting teams to come in to play them so that they can get their reps in. They can make sure that they have their defensive set and their offensive choices put in place. There's not an indication that you're going to win this game. And there's also not necessarily an indication that you're going to be a real big challenge in these games. So the fact that they were able to make a run for it, just, still didn't win the game, that's okay. But just not being able to go away nicely. How much does that say about San Diego State?
I think the fact that they're just willing to take the game, like Corey was saying, UCLA's kind of graduated to another level, right? First NCAA tournament Final Four appearance in program history. They did make the Final Four back when the postseason was constructed a little bit differently. But that just puts you on a different echelon, right? And it's are you going to want to play UCLA now, knowing that they have these 7 seniors and one of the deepest teams in the country, and knowing that it's going to be a long night for us, and the fact that San Diego State is willing to do that, right? I think they got a little bit of a concession, right? The game gets played in Anaheim, which is a bit closer to San Diego than just playing on UCLA's campus, which is, that's nice. But yeah, I think just takes a lot of guts to play these games and to be that close. And, you mentioned the comparison to Jada Williams. I think La Jolla, little guard, she wouldn't like me calling that Kelsey Plum. That's a nice comparison. Just somebody who's using her size. Same high school.
It's
a good pedigree there, I think.
That's crazy. Yeah, shout out to La Jolla. Y'all just making some ballers right there. Okay. See, Ira, this is why Sabreena, encyclopedia for us. It's absolutely a thing. Okay, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if we've really overreacted yet, and now I'm scared for my take. Because I have
a player who was not a preseason All-American as their best player. Okay,
that's true. That's true. Especially on a team like South Carolina, runner-up in the championships last year. Yeah, you're completely changing who the focal point should be on some scouting reports here, Sabreena. That's fair. That's fair. San Diego State. Now they're literally going to print out your quote, Ira. Put that on their locker. Somewhere. It's
every other team in the Mountain West is going to be they think they're going to beat us in this conference.
Right. They're like, okay, bet. Okay. Well, my overreaction is, I'm not going to lie. One of these teams played last night and they looked real good. And I was like, oh no, I don't know if I still believe in this, but I'm still going to make this case and we'll see what happens. One team can use it as ammo. Another team can use it as wow, we love Zena. My thoughts are around 2 teams that made the Sweet 16 last year. Did not make it past that, but they made it there. And they want to go further, obviously. They've made some moves. They've brought in some new folks. And they're in two different conferences, two very challenging conferences that will absolutely probably have at least 10 people going to the tournament. And I'm talking about Maryland, and I'm talking about Oklahoma. And Maryland broke into the top 10 last week, AP poll. Shout out Sabreena, a voter. Shout out Ben, a voter.
Not in my top 10, but sure.
Sure, absolutely. They're not in everybody's top 10, and this is why this is an overreaction. But Maryland broke into the top 10. Oklahoma came in preseason ranked number 6. I believe my overreaction is that Maryland will not fall out of the top 10 for the rest of the year, and that Oklahoma is going to fall out of the top 10, and they won't make it back in for the rest of the year. And this is my breakdown why. So Maryland, we just talked about UCLA having those returners, having those seniors, having the continuity. And we know that continuity in chemistry is super, super duper important. And when you look at Maryland, they've returned some solid talent from their team last year that entertained all of us in the tournament. Talking about Kayleen Schmeichel, talking about Poffenberger, Sayla Poffenberger. They've also added some solid talent. Addie Mack scoring 23 points in 20 minutes the other night against Georgetown. 17 points in the fourth quarter when they needed it. Impressive freshman performance. They added Aluchi Okananwa from Duke. They've got the depth from a guard perspective, from a defensive perspective. They've got lineups. Right now, Brenda Freese is playing like 11 or 13 or so people, okay? She's still figuring things out. Yes, they are still turning the ball over. But I feel like the way that they're playing, the chemistry that they already have, top 10 is their floor. They really, especially as Addie Mack, if she continues to get even more comfortable, I really think that there's an opportunity for them to just stay in the top 10 and keep beating teams. We will see what happens with them. But Oklahoma, I think they have a high ceiling. We don't know their floor just yet. And Oklahoma, looking at their game, particularly against UCLA, they were able to get it to one point in that third quarter. They were able to, I think they were down 5 going into the half. They played okay. They have not shot well from outside. And the reason why I was like, ooh, is this going to be a bad overreaction? Aaliyah Chavez literally went 7 of 10 from the three-point line last night that we're recording this. But they have not shot well. They've turned the ball over. And right now, they're allowing their opponents to score at least 68 points. And if you remember last year, this was the problem with Oklahoma. They played fast. They coughed the ball up because they played fast, which is fine. But they didn't have enough time on defense. And folks were scoring in the same range last year, around that 67, 68. And that's too many points to allow when you're thinking about the teams in the top 10, much lower. There's a lot of questions I still have about Oklahoma. And there was a great game for Aaliyah Chavez against a non-conference opponent. Again, one of these bye game type of games, in my opinion. I just don't know yet if that chemistry that we're looking for between Aaliyah Chavez and Reagan Beers is there. Reagan Beers is going to do her thing. She's averaging almost like 30 points a game right now. She had 29 the other night. Like, she's phenomenal. But I don't know if it's enough for me for Oklahoma to be able to overcorrect the fact that they're not playing enough defense. Do they have enough late game scoring? Do they have a reliable secondary ball handler? And they don't have a ton of continuity. So that's my thought. Oklahoma, prove me wrong. Get in the top 10 and stay there. But I really feel like once SEC play starts, the size is going to be exposed. Ira, I'm sure you saw that UCLA game against them. They could not handle UCLA size very well. They do not have, I think, enough ball handling and athletic wings to be able to handle that. And in the SEC, you just talked about Tessa Johnson. Tessa Johnson is a big guard, and there's tons of them. I'm thinking of Texas. I'm thinking of LSU. I'm thinking all across the SEC. Like, I just don't know once conference play if Oklahoma's going to be able to stay up there. Okay, I'm rambling now. I think I'm trying to convince myself, but that's my overreaction. What do
I
y'all think?
love the Oklahoma one because I was not. I mean, okay, I don't want to be dramatic, but I wasn't that impressed with them against UCLA, and that was their real test of the season so far. Um,
Mhm.
as you're saying, Reagan Beer is great, but Oklahoma was out rebounded by like somewhere in the double digits. I want to say maybe 12, maybe it was 15. So there was that, and then also I think UCLA had like some 16 turnovers. 11 were from their bigs, which obviously is not a great sign for UCLA, but that means their defense kind of in the backcourt is not very impressive. And also Aaliyah Chavez, I know she played well last night, but against okay, she's a freshman, so again, I don't want to be dramatic here, and she's in her second game playing her
Right.
first ranked team, playing UCLA, but I just wasn't that impressed by them. I thought UCLA really came away with it in the end of the fourth quarter. They also have obviously the veteran experience, and they have all these, the seniors and all the veteran, 7 of them. But I wasn't as, astounded as I thought I would be going into that game. So I like that take.
I actually really like Oklahoma. I'm kind of surprised you mentioned the continuity because like 4 of their starters were on the team last year. 3 of them started. Zaya Van was just not starting because her sister was starting as a senior. So there's a lot of returners. I acknowledge Aaliyah Chavez not ready for prime time, and like you want to give her some grace, but then I also think about like, well, Jazzy Davidson, her second game of her freshman year on the road against a ranked team looked pretty damn good. I think about Hannah Hidalgo going to France, playing against South Carolina, her first game of her regular season as a freshman, absolutely crushed it. So like there's a lot of precedent for when somebody's good, you know it right away. And Aaliyah Chavez has been eaten against these teams that are not, among the best of the best, but you put her on the court against UCLA and like Kiki Rice got into her, Charlize Ledger-Walker got into her, and it was hard.
Yeah.
I love Peyton Verhulst. I'm probably like the biggest Peyton Verhulst fan outside of like Norman, Oklahoma. So I love watching her dynamic with Reagan Beers. I think like you could see a lot of what Gianna Neepkins and Lauren Betts are trying to do in what Verhulst and Beers are trying to do.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, a lot of the similar actions, honestly, that the 2 of them are trying to run. It's just Betts is a little bit better. Neepkins is a little bit better, but like there's a lot of talent there. I do think the SEC is just like, it's going to eat them alive. Like they're just not suited for that conference, And I think the ranking point is really good because they're going to sustain a lot of losses, and their tournament run to me is very matchup dependent because they can play with teams that want to score, but teams that are going to like slow the game down, muck it up, try to make it a defensive showdown. Like that's just not where they're equipped to handle. And like that's where you really need Aaliyah Chavez to break through, and maybe she will again. Like it's 3 games into the regular season, so it's totally possible. But yeah, them struggling in conference play and like finding their way in the rankings, I think is totally fair. As for Maryland, I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Like I'm just a Terrapin hater, having been a Duke fan and gone to Duke. Like back when they were in the same conference at the ACC, like I acknowledge it. It's just a thing that's happened. When I finally gave in and accepted that Maryland was a damn good team last year, all of a sudden they had like 3 knee injuries in the span of a week and just their season imploded. And I feel really badly about that. And a friend of mine just posted the graphic that I had about Maryland being a Final Four contender like in our text thread over and over again. And I apologize to the Terrapin fans rooting for Lucia Conenwa. Let's get it. But yeah, I think I should just eliminate myself from that conversation.
Okay. I mean, fair. No, it's a good point about Oklahoma. Like they do have their returners, Ivan. I'm also like, it really did concern me that Reagan Beers had 7 points in that UCLA game. Like that was big. Like this is supposed to be where you eat. Big girl against big girl. Like this was supposed to be that opportunity. Big girls against big girls, I would say, because that whole squad of UCLA is just massive.
Oh yeah.
And I was not as impressed. And again, I don't want to compare Maryland and Oklahoma because that's a very weird comparison. But in terms of this like guard play that I really like, I love Yarden Garzone's game. Kayleen Smichael, she was like the person that got us all excited during the Big Ten tournament, especially. Yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. No, Oklahoma, take my quote, put it on the wall, work off of it. They're gonna be like, God, we hate that girl. Don't let her in. Prove me wrong. I want to see what happens. But Maryland, keep going. I'm a fan. Okay. That's enough. Let us know if we really overreacted. Did we overreact? I feel like I overreacted. We'll see.
I wonder if our enormous hot takes during the WNBA season that imploded so spectacularly have made us a little bit gun shy.
You know what? That's true. Because my goodness, Did we have hope in Chicago?
Did we have takes? Yeah.
Did we have some takes? Yeah, we were bold in WNBA season. We're trying to be a
And
little bit
incorrect.
and incorrect. We were bold and incorrect. Yeah. So we'll see what happens here. But Ira, we appreciate you helping us with these overreactions. And also, like I said, adding a mid-major into the game because we love being able to learn more about more teams that are not just in the top 25. So thank you so much for that. Ira, will you be doing any more writing for The Athletic? I know you're still in school, which is crazy.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be working till May, till the end of May with The Athletic.
Cool.
So
Okay.
yeah, mainly doing college football, but as you guys know, I'm trying to do as much women's basketball as I can. So working on a couple UCLA things right now.
I love it. All right. Well, you guys keep an eye out for Ira Gorwara. For now, we appreciate you joining us. Do you have some games you want to watch this weekend, Ira?
Well, we talked about the South Carolina one.
Okay.
Obviously.
Wait for it because it's going to be time to set our screens on the other side of this break. Alrighty, it is time to set our screens. These are the games that we're going to be watching over the weekend. Ira, I know you had started teasing a little bit the game that you wanted to watch, the Battle of the SCs. Break it down for us. Tell us why we're watching and when we should be watching.
Well, top 10 matchup on Saturday evening. And I mean, it's going to be another test for USC. I kind of like how USC doesn't have those high expectations anymore. And it's probably because there's no JuJu, don't have those expectations they did this time last season. And so I kind of like that they're playing around that. They don't have these lofty goals too that everyone wants them to kind of get at the end of the season. And so through that, they're just kind of playing quietly, kind of under the radar and are, under Jazzy Davidson and Kennedy Smith and Cara Dunn and Fortunately London Jones, who left UCLA, are doing great. So I'm excited for that matchup. But the other one that I'm excited for is TCU NC State on Saturday morning or afternoon, depending on the time zone. And I'm excited for that matchup between Olivia Miles and Zamaria Jones. Because Zamaria Jones, I remember watching her, she used to post videos of herself, working out in these, parking lots and, underground gyms and stuff when I was, growing up, kind of the same time as her. So I'm excited to watch her and then see her play against a veteran guard like Olivia Miles, who's now at TCU.
That's dope. Yes, South Carolina going to USC. That game's going to be at 6 p.m. on Fox, 6 p.m. Pacific on Saturday. And then TCU going up against NC State. That's going to be on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific on ESPN. So definitely tune in for those. That was going to be my game, the South Carolina University of Southern California. We got to make sure we get these very clear, the Battle of the SCs. And that's so funny how JuJu basically revived that. That was not a problem before, I think, before she got there, before Lindsay Gottlieb got there. Very cool to see now. We do have the Battle of the SCs on both coasts. Sabreena, what you watching?
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit lower profile since we've already brought up a couple of the ranked games this weekend, but I've got my eye on Richmond versus Columbia this weekend. That's coming on
Great
Saturday at, let's say, 7 p.m. Eastern in Columbia. One other reason you should set your screen to this game is because Columbia has some of the best media seating in the country. The reporters are right on the court. So if you watch this game and you tune in, you might be able to see Ben Pickman right there watching Columbia versus Richmond. So keep an eye out. But two of the best mid-major programs in the country, you got Maggie Dugan at Richmond, Riley Weiss at Columbia, already on the short list for the Becky Hammon Mid-Major Player of the Year. So just really high-level programs at XCube have brought back a lot of their talent from tournament teams last year. And, looking to see if they can make that second weekend jump this year. So this is a good start against a high-level program for each of them.
I love it. And last one to set your screen to, Notre Dame going up against Michigan. We obviously started this show talking about Hannah Hidalgo scoring 44 points. And let me tell you right now, them 6'1" on average guards and forwards at Michigan are not going to allow that to happen. So very excited to see what the backcourt can do against Michigan's defense. And also, what can Michigan's offense do when you've got Hannah Hidalgo creeping around trying to get 16 steals again? That game will be happening also on Saturday. That will be at 1 p.m. Pacific on NBC. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today. Remember, please fill out the listener survey. We really want to hear from you guys. Also, if you got questions, what's going on with the CBA? I know we haven't done a deal or no deal. That's because it's quiet on the Western Front. But if you've got questions about it as it's being negotiated, let us know. If there's anything you want to know about college hoops, send them to our mailbag, drop us a line on socials, or at our email, nooffseason@theathletic.com. That's in our show notes. Also, wherever you're listening, subscribe. Subscribe to this show. Subscribe to The Athletic so you can go read Sabreena and Ira over there. And if you're watching on YouTube, press that little red button. I think it's still red. Do that, and then tell your friends to do that too. We would definitely don't want you guys to miss out on any info as this college season goes. And last but not least, of course, head on over to our partner, the Yahoo Sports Hub, for more content, sports.yahoo.com/women's-sports. On behalf of The Athletic, Sabreena Merchant, Ira Gorwara, I'm Zena Cada, thanking you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to No Offseason. To hear more, be sure to like and subscribe. We drop new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.